There are 6 weed species in Nebraska that have confirmed resistance to glyphosate. The first was Marestail in 2006. Nebraska Extension's Greg Kruger says the weed is again a problem in fields across the state this season and needs to be managed shortly after harvest for effective control. We talked with Greg recently in North Platte about controlling winter annual weeds and specifically Marestail after picking the crop.
We got a lot of winter annual weeds that emerge in late fall. And one of the big ones for us is Marestail, and so managing those early before they get a chance to get rooted and get established is really important. So this year we saw a lot of Marestail escapes in those situations where most of that weed biotype is emerging in the fall. If we can get out ahead of it and then get a fall application on shortly after harvest, it really gives us a chance to be successful in the spring in our weed control programs.
Can you go more into the timeline of the window of when you want producers to be in the field?
We want guys to go into the field shortly after they take off the corn crop. That one's a big one for us because a lot of our corn fields are rotated with soybean fields, and if we can go in this corn stubble and get some sort of a residual-based program out before the Marestail starts to germinate in the late fall, it gives us a much better chance of success in that application. If we wait until the Marestail's already starting to germinate, we make the job a little bit more difficult for ourselves.
Well, how difficult is it already with resistance issues in Marestail?
Most of the weed biotypes, or weed populations that we see here in the state of Nebraska are glyphosate resistant, so we have that one to contend with. We haven't seen it or been able to formally document it yet, but here in Nebraska, but there are ALS resistant biotypes out there in other states. There's PPO resistant biotypes in other states, and they likely exist here as well. We just haven't formally documented that yet. So a lot of different resistances, so if we can use the tools that we have at our disposal at the proper timing, it's going to make create a situation where we're much more successful in terms of managing this particular weed species.
What happens when you don't control it? You hinted at this, but why is it so important?
Yeah, Marestail's an important one for us. Because it does compete with the crop. Like any weed species, it's going to reduce yields and things like that. But probably more importantly, this one produces a lot of seed, and it's wind-blown seed. So you think kind of like a dandelion seed in the summer. This is kind of similar. It's got a little pappus or a little structure that helps it float across the wind, and so it can disseminate a long way. So if we don't control this, and we could potentially contaminate our entire field, our neighboring fields, or even our entire county if we're not on top of this one.
Any other weeds that are really important to control in the off-season?
Yeah, we have a few others, but I think if we structure our weed control programs to manage Marestail, we're going to pick up those other ones. A lot of our weeds are summer annuals, so they're not going to come in until the weather starts turning nice again in the spring. So if we get a fall residual application out there, it gives us a window in the spring to try to get out there and manage those instead of trying to do things retroactively.
You want to reinforce the importance of rotating your weed control programs?
Yeah, so in terms of fall applications, it also gives us an opportunity to use some different herbicides than we would traditionally use in maybe late spring or in season. So it gives us a chance to use some different modes of action. It allows us the opportunity to tank mix some things that we might not use in our standard rotations today. And so it's going to help us in terms of resistance management long term there as well.
For example?
For example, we've got some residual-based products. We're seeing some of these residual-based products are really growing in terms of market share in the spring, particularly heading in front of soybeans. But you know, there's some residual-based products out there that are going to give us an opportunity to take the pressure off of Roundup, our post-emergence PPO inhibitors, and our ALS inhibitors.